All right, fellas, it's time for another Tuesday recap. It has been hot, hot, hot. I do very poorly in the heat, and because of that, I have not been sleeping well. Entering tonight's game, I am definitely underslept, if that is the right word. Maybe just tired. I wouldn't quite say sleep deprived, although it's bearing on that. And originally, I'm supposed to play Ben Gross in a rematch, sort of, but I was supposed to be white. Of course, the pairings got swapped, and I was paired against Alex. A little bit of a note. All right, how do I begin this one? So it's kind of a funny meta aspect. So first off, Alex's dad, nice guy. He sort of joined us for the analysis afterward. Alex is a young kid. I don't know how young, but pretty young. Asked me if I could not include his last name in the video, which I'm happy to respect. I don't know if it's because of a scouting thing, because he doesn't want other people to see what he's played, in which case, if it's that, I would not want to honor the request, or if it's because he's like a very young kid, and I know that some parents are like sensitive about their children's names out there or something, and if that's the reason, then I'm 100% behind supporting that. So anyway, I told him, yeah, that's no problem. Obviously, anyone can just check Boylston and find out who I played, so it's not really a big deal. But I'm decided to honor that request because it's pretty simple. It does mess with my own formatting, but it's something that I can fix pretty easily for my own records. And I'll just say that my opponent is named Alex. Alex is 1985. That's the year I was born. But that's his current rating. I just double-checked it. Which is to say he's really strong. He didn't play last week. I don't even know how much he's played at Boylston, because I think I know like everybody at Boylston at this point, and I'd never seen him before. But maybe he's played there before. I don't know. Or maybe he plays like weekend tournaments. I haven't played a weekend tournament in a while. Anyway, the other meta aspect, the reason why this is pretty funny, is you guys are going to see. He ends up transposing from the Horwitz defense, where I assume that he probably wanted to play some sort of French. That's what most people do when they play e6 against a d4 opening. And then he played a Dutch. Last time someone played a Dutch against me was Zach Tower, and I lost that game. I prepared against Ben. Ben was telling me how he was doing all this prep work and all this stuff, so I was actually practicing my backup opening. Something that Daniel Naroditsky has said, that like you want your main opening, and then you want to every so often mix it up, especially in someone who you've played before, and you want to have like one backup opening. And I think that's really fair, and I've tried to emulate that. I don't want to spend years working on opening after opening, but I want to find openings that I like, and I more or less have. Not everything. I'm still kind of finding exactly what I want to play against D4, for example. I'm not happy with what I've been playing against it, but anyway, I want to have a backup, and I was actually going to whip out my backup tonight. But like it happens, 50% of the time, I show up at the club. I got a sweet green. I wasn't able to eat till after the game, and my parent got swapped. I was hoping to actually play a new opening as well, so I was kind of excited to show all of you. But instead, I got paired up against Alex, and Alex again is a young kid. He's in the 1900s. The rating said 1985, but of course that fluctuates frequently, and he's very good. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I should describe him. Anyway, the point is, after the game, and his dad said, the Dutch, you played this against, this is what Zach Tower played against you. And I was like, how does this guy know? And I may have misunderstood, but I don't think so. What apparently, and this is actually really funny, this is one of the rare times maybe making videos has hurt me. Apparently, the original pairings where this kid, Alex, was supposed to play Zach, and instead, he got switched to me. And apparently, they must have looked up and they found my game against Zach, because it's on YouTube or whatever. Obviously, it's one of my archives. And they looked up and they saw that Zach played the Dutch. So they must have watched that video, which is cool, of course. But it also meant that because the pairings get switched and then they get posted, you have like all 5 minutes. So there's no prep possible. And so apparently they must have like known that or so. I don't know if that is what led to Alex playing the Dutch against me, because I think Zach played pretty well in that game. Again, I don't know. Let's just get into the game. I just feel like that meta aspect is relevant and somewhat funny, or maybe ironic. I'm not sure. Because, again, it definitely impacted where I wasn't really prepared for the opening, and so far when I play against very strong opponents, if the opening goes my way, I've won, and when the opening has not gone my way, I've lost. So hopefully that's not too much of a spoiler. In the recap after, and also I'm pretty tired. I definitely missed a few things that I would like to think, if I was feeling better, that I would have seen if I was playing my A game. But it's also possible that they're just really tricky moves. I'm going to let all of you be the judge. So I play D4. He hits me with a E6, and it's funny because I'm kind of actually curious. I know in Lichess this has much better. Yeah. Okay. Here we go. This is not bad as far as the master game tableau on chess.com. I've never really used it here. The Lichess one I think is better. As you guys can tell, Knight F6, which gets into I play sometimes the Trapowski. Obviously, there's different King's Indians, things like that, is the most common. I have found in the club level people play D5 more often. There, I've obviously played Queen's Gambit. I've been going to a lot of Catalan, at least many months ago. Obviously, I play the Jabava. But instead, he plays this move E6, and that is rare. And because it's rare, I haven't spent any time really studying it. All I know is that many months ago, I played this against D4, and I played this hoping that White would then play E4. And the reason why you hope for that is if you then play D5, you have transposed from a D4 opening to an E4 opening into the French defense. So when Alex played this against me, I assumed he wanted me to play E4. I'm not going to. Even though I played the French defense as black, I don't play against it as white at all. And instead, I decided that I would treat this like a Jobava with a move order with the move E6 instead. In other words, I would play Knight C3, expecting or hoping Alex to transpose with Knight F6. It's worth pointing out D5 isn't really much of a move here because I don't have the French setup. And instead, Alex shocks me, and I end up spending 5 minutes in a critical position, literally on move 3, because he plays F5, which of course gets into a Dutch defense situation. Again, Dutch defense typically would be F5 on move 1, but you can transpose here, which is what happens. And I was caught unprepared because A, I hadn't looked at Dutch stuff in a while. B, I play a fair amount online, but unfortunately I play more just because it's fun. I don't, not that I don't take the game seriously. I try to win all of them, but I don't invest time in looking over various games. Maybe I should do that a little more often. But the point is, even online, you don't see the Dutch that often. Yeah, so I had to really think, and I knew that the setup that I want. Again, the San Rafael version, I believe it's or just the Raphael version, is this move that I've pioneered. I wouldn't quite say pioneered, but I've scoured the databases, and A3 is actually good. But you basically want to get your bishop on F4, and then you want to play E3. And you just want to build a center like that, and that's fine. The problem is, my first instinct was to play bishop F4, but if I play bishop F4, that can be met with G5 with tempo. And, wherever I go, I basically can get bumped. I mean, if I drop back, I can get my piece trapped, and I can be basically lost right out of the opening. So I didn't really want to move the bishop and then move it back to, E3. So I kind of used the process of elimination. Spent 5 minutes thinking about where my pieces belong, thinking I kind of want this setup, thinking that I have to play H4 here. H4 stops G5, and now gives me another squizzle square for my bishop to maybe stick it on G5. So I thought that was a good move, but I don't like having to start thinking about my moves on move 3. I'm going to be honest. I've spent enough time on openings. I feel very comfortable and happy. When I'm taking out of theory this quickly, or at least when I haven't prepped, it's one thing if I'm thinking on move 6 or 7, fine, valid. But on move 3, it's a pain. It's annoying. Now Alex plays Knight F6, and it's interesting the move order difference. Where if his knight was here, if his pawn was on F7. It would change the entirety of the position. I deliberate between just getting an early pin. I didn't really see what it accomplished. If he pushes, I didn't really want to trade the dark square bishop for the knight. Maybe it's worth it, maybe it's not. So I just decided to try to sort of play normally. We still have different Jobava-esque ideas. But really, I'm just trying to get my pieces out. I don't think it's more complicated than that. I was considering at some point a pawn storm, which is like f3, g4. Maybe I should have played harder into that direction, but whatever. Alex is moving pretty quickly. I don't think throughout the game. Okay, throughout the game, our clock time was actually very similar. So it's not like he was rushing. It's not like he was tanking. But at least in the opening, he built a small time advantage that in the middle game kind of like evened out. After knight f6, and bishop f4 is played, he then meets that with bishop b4, which is a common idea. And this is actually why, like, again, I'm kind of kicking myself, why I like the move a3. Like, I don't know if you guys remember, but in the classic Dutch that I was prepped with, it's the Raphael variation. If they go for a line like this, I like the move a3 here, and it's specifically to stop these pins. And the problem is if I push it now, he can trade and he can mess up my pawn structure. And I don't think it's a big deal, but the problem is he's looking to get the knight to e4, and that actually is a bit of a problem. If he's always spying the c3 square, it means I can't develop the queen to d2. I sort of have problems, and I'm kind of, I wouldn't quite say annoyed, that's definitely the wrong way to put it, but I definitely wouldn't be feeling great about my position. And again, I'm white, I shouldn't feel worse about my position right away. I kind of shrug, feel like if this move is coming, I need to prepare against it. I thought, how could I prepare against it? And the way I think is if I get my knight to e2, and then the knights can kind of be connected. If he does trade, so be it. At least I'll have the bishop pair. So it's kind of like, a pro and a con. And I play e3, which is the setup I kind of wanted. I think this is like the right structure. The idea is I can situate the knight. I don't think it really blocks in the bishop because I'm looking at some point to go g3 or g4, and I can maybe get it off on this diagonal, something like that. So, all right, so I play e3, and I was feeling fine, fine. And Alex plays b6. He plays b6. His idea, of course, is to fianchetto the light square bishop. He wants to completely zone in on g2 pawn, and this is where I do my first, think of the match. Obviously, I want to play knight e2, and I was pretty much making peace with playing it. He didn't take at this point. He didn't mess up my pawn structure. I didn't like a pawn advance here. I was looking at moves like rook lifting, like rook h3, with the idea of maybe putting pressure on the g7 pawn. I didn't like relocating the bishop now, although it would be worth investigating it, I thought, because that's kind of like indirectly defending against knight e4, because obviously by lasering the queen. And his queen would be a few moves away from getting out of this pin as well. Of course, maybe he could take, and then I could take, and then that square is fine, yada, yada, yada. Anyway, at the end of the day, I stuck to my original plan. I knew that I probably would want this sort of setup, but I didn't think I had the luxury of playing bishop to d3 first, which is kind of what I wanted to do. So I played knight e2. For the record, I thought if I play bishop d3, he can just play bishop b7. He's zeroing down, and that kind of forces an f3. And I could be right, I could be wrong. I don't know the position well enough, but I thought that I didn't want to block my queen because, again, one of the reasons I didn't think knight e4 was always so good for him is in the Dutch, once they move the f-pawn, it means this diagonal can become very lethal for white. So I kind of didn't want to block access to h5, because if he let me infiltrate, then I'd be fine. I'd be pretty happy. Again, if my bishop comes to like e5, I can zero on down. Black can be in a lot of trouble. Nonetheless, I played knight e2. I kind of connect the knights, thinking if he trades, so be it. He follows through with bishop e7. Not a lot of thought on that move. I can't blame him. I feel like that's the natural extension. And I look at this position, and I know I need to kind of get my bishop out somewhere. I can't do it with my knight here. I'm not ready to push my pawns. I am currently defending g2 with the bishop, so I don't need to move the bishop yet. Technically, it is developed by virtue of it defending a pawn. So I look at the only thing that I can do that kind of can clarify the position. I think it's the best move, and I bump him with a3. Obviously, he can't drop to b5, because then I trap the piece. Common idea, whenever they fianchetto, they can never continue the pin, because you can just trap the piece. And I told Alex after the game, I fully expect him to drop it to f7, and that we'd reach some kind of we would be reaching the early middle game where I'm not, he hasn't quite castled yet. I'm waiting for him to commit to the king side, and then I want to pawn storm him. He's waiting for me to commit queen side, and then he can pawn storm me. And that's kind of like the basis of this game. Instead, very surprisingly, he trades, and I don't really think. I just take back, of course. And we go from here. And I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, this can't be that bad. He's willingly given me the bishop pair. My pieces are mostly developed. I have a reasonable center. My pieces aren't unpretty. He's a little bit weakened. I think even though this has been like a Dutch opening, I don't think I'm really any worse off. I think I've kind of swam against the current, and I've made it to the other side. Alex polishes me with d6, and I couldn't understand if he was trying to prepare e5 or if he was just looking for a place to put his knight. I wasn't sure. I thought it also now makes e6 kind of weakened. So my first instinct on my move, let me find out, move 8. I think for... Oh, okay, I do a 15-minute thing. This is my first critical position of the game. Awesome. I was at an hour 21, and I go down to an hour 7, so I guess 14 minutes. Yeah, this is my first critical position. So bear with me. I thought up to this point I had to rethink and remember my Dutch defense kind of lines. I thought I remembered well enough, although my a3 was misordered. I don't think Alex punished me. And now I needed to craft like basically the plan for the game. So I spent a long time in this position. I thought that this warranted it. It's my first critical position, and feel free to work this out, trying to think of what you wanted to do. And I'm going to start talking about the position from my perspective. So first thing I noticed, I want to get my last minor piece out, but I didn't think I could leave the defense of the g2 pawn. I saw that the e6 pawn's really weak, and of course it lasers down. Like if you have castles, that's a pinned pawn. And I even saw it doesn't really sacrifice the pawn, because I calculated like bishop c4, bishop takes, rook g1, let's say he brings the bishop back, then I can go rook takes. And I thought if I get a rook on the 7th, that's a win for me. But I wasn't positive that I was going to be able to keep it there. I thought that maybe he'd be able to make use of the g file better than me by going like queen e7 and like getting these pieces down. And basically after all of that, I wasn't sure if that was like good activity or bad activity. I don't know if that makes sense, but that was one of the main reasons why I was grappled with this position, is I didn't know if it was correct for me to let go of this pawn, even though I can win back this pawn, and apply pressure on this diagonal or not. Another thing I had to calculate was the bishop check. The reason why is I think bishop check is good except against one move. If he blocks, there is queen f3 that continues to put pressure. Like, for example, if the pawn goes, then he tries to take my bishop, boom, I immediately take his bishop. I think trading my bishop for his bishop is good for me. I think his light square bishop is better. And I'd have a very active queen, kind of menacing in the center, immediately putting threat. He can't develop the knight then to c6. I should be able to take it. You have to, again, lose the piece, or I guess he would then bring it to d7. So I would like my position there. And if he blocks with the pawn, with the knight, it's the same deal. I can put more pressure on it because it's pinned to the king, and I'd be able to put another attacker. He'd have to do something like queen d7, again, another pin with an x-ray onto the king, and I thought that was very good for me. However, the reason why I then eventually vetoed bishop b5 is I thought that he could just very naturally play knight bd7, and he would be developing his last piece, and I would be asking myself, what is my bishop really doing there? And my answer was nothing. So I then eliminated that. I then thought, what about bishop d3? That's the classic place where you put him in a lot of Jobava structures. But I thought because it's a Dutch, he has this pawn chain that I don't really have a lot of scope. I'm kind of staring into concrete that I didn't really think it was doing much on d3. Then I started thinking, what about bishop e2? With the idea of trying to basically get it in on h5. And I thought that was kind of clunky because the bishop doesn't have a lot of threat, and once he can play like g6, he can just bounce me back. Furthermore, I thought I kind of wanted to leave that open for the queen to go there, because the queen is more of a wiggly figure to like wiggle in to put pressure on g7. So I thought about all those moves about the bishop, and I really couldn't make heads or tails. I looked at pawn moves, and I thought that something like g4 is too premature. You can just take it. So I'd have to set it up with f3, and I couldn't make heads or tails whether f3 was the right idea or not. It would shut down on the e4 square. It would shut down the g4 square. But I also thought it would be weakening, where then I'd create a backwards pawn on e3, and I wasn't sure if that's good for me while my king isn't castled. I then said to myself, all right, I'm not sure where I'm supposed to move with the bishop. I'm not sure if I should play f3. I don't have a knight jump yet. Obviously, once he's played d6, he's shutting down, sort of, on the idea of knight b5 and then taking on c7. I then said, all right, I think I'm gonna end up queenside castling this game. I'm not positive, but let's at least develop my queen. And I said, where does she belong? Well, I would love to be able to put her on f3, but I can't right now. I obviously can't move her to g4 or h5. Those squares are covered. I don't really want to block it on e2. And I thought moving queen d3 was also premature, because I thought that he would have a clever idea of bishop a6. Again, playing on the skewer. Protected by the knight, actually making use of the fact that it's not developed yet. So after 15 minutes, I really wasn't sure how to approach the position where my pieces belonged. I played, I mean, it must have looked so funny, where I literally thought for 15, I turned on the computer now, wow, the move I played was the best move briefly, and now they actually do like bishop c4, which was my first, no, now they like the move I played best. All right, I'm patting myself on the back, guys, because it's such a lame move, but it is the best move in the position. I'm giving myself credit. I'm pleased with myself. And look, white is a good deal better. I'm maintaining the advantage. I just played queen d2. Obviously I saw that, he could like attack the knight with the, he can attack my queen with his knight, but then I would just trade it off. And again, maybe I'm even looking to play like c4 there, just like rip open the board. I was hoping he would do something like that. Okay, looks like I did find the best move. So, hey, when I do spend a long time in a position, maybe I'm able to solve it. Anyway, within a minute, Alex responds very, very quickly. And this is, again, I think this is where he built up like the time edge. Prior to this move, I had a small time advantage, but after spending 15 minutes, and then he starts banging out moves quickly, all that evaporates. So after queen d2, he plays knight b to d7, which made sense, and I was kind of doing a sigh of relief, because I'm like, okay, I'm pretty sure bishop b5 was wrong. If he's going to play that anyway without me pinning it, I probably shouldn't have like induced it and let him do that anyway. And I didn't want to do another long critical think. So I thought to myself, okay, I'm not really in danger of this diagonal. Because he traded off that dark square bishop over here, means that after I queenside castle, and I do queenside castle, I'm not all that worried about like any kind of like skewer. I wanted to play king b1, but I figured I would castle, I would get my rook in the middle of the board, I would look to break it open and take it from there. Already here, I kind of had the idea that I wanted my king on b1. I wanted to play either g3 or f3. If I played f3, I'd be looking to play g4. And I wanted to get my bishop out. And I still wasn't sure where it belonged. I really thought all of these squares warranted bearing. I don't know what I'm trying to say. They all seemed reasonable. So I was kind of waiting to develop that piece because all of them were viable. I thought if I had more information about like his next few moves, it would help me figure out where it belonged. Also, not to mention, it is doing something on f1. So that's why I haven't touched that piece yet. After the queenside castle, Alex plays queen e7, and everything went out the window. I thought this was a bad move, to be honest. Like, up to this point, he seemed to be playing well. And again, I'm sure that this is probably not actually a bad move. But I thought that this queen was guarding the c7 pawn. And I've never really given up fully on the idea of knight b5. Again, that's like the classic first principle of the Jobava, what you're kind of looking for. And so I think to myself, like, all right, there's ways for me to improve the position, but also I might have a tactic here, and I didn't want to waste the opportunity. And the thing is, I thought that, yeah, I could play king b1. I think it's reasonable. I can develop the bishop. It's reasonable. Wow, arrows are hard. Or I could play f3, things like that. But I thought if I gave Alex the chance to castle one of these two ways, or just bring a rook, I would lose the option of threatening this fork. And of course, if I do this in castles, which is what happens, by the way, he is sacking a pawn, which I don't think is good for him. I think it's a clear pawn. So I play knight b5. I think I need to spring on the opportunity. This looked like a pawn to me, and the reason why is I saw that if he plays the rook over here to defend this pawn, I would take that pawn. He doesn't have time to try to trap my knight because I would just be immediately attacking his rook. So then when he moves it away, I would just move it back. And that's the beauty of a3 is he wouldn't have the chance to win my pawn on a2 because I had moved a3 a while back. He can't, I thought maybe he could move his king, but then he loses castling rights. The whole time, if he moves it there, by the way, I'm looking at a lot of these tactics as well. Actually, even in this position, before he moved his queen, in this position, I was toying with the idea of knight b5 because I saw bishop takes, knight takes with check, after the pawn takes the bishop, winning the light square bishop. The problem is I calculated that through, and I saw that after I take the bishop, he can just move the queen over and he can actually trap my knight. Because of the fianchettoed pawn, it's actually taking away the exit squares. So I saw that tactic didn't work, but I had my nose to the grindstone. However, in this position, when I'm not looking to take this pawn with check and then winning the bishop, I'd be taking this pawn. I thought this was just good for me. Without much thought, again, just 2 minutes, Alex shrugs, he just castles, and I think to myself, like, okay, this looks like a pawn to me. I only thought for 2 minutes because it looked safe to me, and immediately I thought to myself, like, hell yeah, this is good. I'm doing well. But it is the best move. But what's crazy? Okay, now the computer's starting to like my position more and more. All right, that's good. The computer says I'm not quite like +1, but after I play knight takes, they like. Okay, now it is +1. Yeah, and I was thinking to myself, like, this is good. Certainly, you guys can see. All right, so I'm playing well up to this point, and when I go back, I'm trying to threaten these kind of skewers, winning the d6 pawn, and that's why I thought that the queen e7 move was kind of bad, to be honest. Yeah, I didn't like it. I assume that he would play rook ac8. That's what he did. He's getting a little bit of compensation because he has now the open c file. It is x-raying my king, and I play knight b5. Now my idea here is very clear. I'm trying to threaten bishop takes on d6 to win the exchange. Some lines I'm also attacking the a7 pawn. For example, if he plays a7 here, it doesn't work because I go bishop takes pawn. But he plays what I thought was the best move, and I kind of, for the last few moves, was always thinking it was in his back pocket. He plays knight e4. Obviously, he's not only attacking the queen, but he's attacking the f2 square to threaten a fork of his own. After the game, Alex showed me what he thought I should do here, which definitely was the best move, but I didn't find it, and I didn't see it. I spent, in this position, not enough time, only 2 minutes, and this was a mistake. Because the only two moves that I was considering was bishop takes here, but the problem is, once the knight jumps, it's backwards defending d6. And I'm going to be honest, in this position, when I took, I didn't see knight e4 would be then defending the d6 pawn. The whole time I was worried about knight to e4 with tempo, threatening the fork, but I missed that he's also attacking it. And I thought, when I did those calculations, and I did spend a good amount of time on them, that I could go like bishop takes, he would go knight takes, I'd go bishop takes queen, and in that position, after like knight takes bishop, rook takes knight, blah, 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 I would actually be up material. Like 2 pawns, actually. I think white would be a lot better. I'll show you guys what I mean. So, like, let's pretend that he can't take this, which he can. I just missed it. I thought I saw this line. And he does something like this. You know, something like this. And here, as you guys can tell, +2, I'm up 2 pawns. I thought this was, like, super winning for me. Yeah, this is super winning. I can also take that pawn. Yeah, and so I got very happy about that. And it's only in this position where I then realized, after he, in this position, after he jumps, that this doesn't work. So that's why I spent 2 minutes, because I thought that I had bishop takes d6, and the passive move is queen e1, which defends f2, and then, like, obviously next turn I can then play f3 and push his knight out of there. But there's a better move here, and I didn't see it. And if I was not tired, would I have found this move? Maybe. But what Alex thought, and I briefly thought about this, but I didn't realize it worked, and it works for a very cute reason. Is he saw the move queen b4, And it looks not that great, giving up this pawn, but then you crash in. And this is obviously outstanding. I mean, white should be much better here. Well, not much. No, +1. Yeah, much better. +1. Yeah, he has to, move the queen somewhere, and then you basically win the exchange. He wins the exchange, but you end up, up the pawn, and you have good play. The other reason this is good, why he, was saying that he thought this was better, is if he tries to do the intermitsu, and, first off, if he attacks here, I can still just take, and then backwards hitting the knight, and it's worth noting that the knight is also hitting the rook, so I still will win the exchange at a minimum. But also, more importantly, if he plays the pawn here, now I can go queen e1. Now it's defending everything, and the knight is never going to be harassed with a6. And so I gotta give Alex credit. He was seeing this. So this is very clearly an idea of forcing a move there, and I didn't really give it any time, and I should have. Where I think white is clearly better here, because I basically would have a very good knight. I can lock it in if I need, and I still have all this pressure. Yeah, I mean, is +1.5 winning? Yeah, it's basically winning. It's almost +2. And Alex actually saw this idea, and I missed it. And I'm pretty sure that I was playing a very good game up until this move, where he said in the recap he thought that I was lost after this, which, I'm going to be honest, I'm not lost after this. Yeah, I've just blown my advantage. That's it. Yeah, I've just blown my advantage, which is true. And the reason why is his moves flow very quickly, and I realized that after move 14 that I have to, that the next few moves are there's no choice, right? Because now he's able to play a6. Remember, if I was able to play the queen there, this doesn't work because I'd be able to take on d6. Hopefully you guys remember that just from a minute ago. Whereas if I went here and he plays a6, I can then take this pawn. And it's worth pointing out, hitting this, the queen is tethered. And yeah, again, his best move is just go into this line anyway. But after all is said and done, we make a million trades. I am up a clear pawn. I probably have c3. The computer wants me to play b5, etc., etc. And this is the position that I would have gotten had I played better. And I'd be very clearly playing for the win here. Anyway, that's not what happened. City plays a6. I have no other square but to go back to c3. And now, unfortunately, he trades immediately. Alex does not think long in this spot. How can I blame him? And I, unfortunately, have to go b takes. And the problem here is now my pawn structure by my king is very choppy. And I'm desperately worried about the move d5. Queen takes a3. Then I'm not even up material. And he has this menacing attack bearing down on c3. It's worth noting that if I run with my king, my queen is also cut off from guarding the c3 pawn. So I realize that at this point, this is forced, that I don't have, at this point, I'm not better anymore. And I did this deep sigh. I wondered if I'm supposed to play king b2. It seems insane. There's all the heavy pieces are still on the board. My king is super exposed. My bishop is still just chilling like a villain. I thought always for good reason, but now I can't even bring it out to c4, which is where I wanted it to stare at the e6 pawn. But now obviously the rook's taking it away. Yeah, and this is a problem. Alex, I think, plays an excellent move here, and my idea, and I'm assuming the computer will like his move too, but maybe not. We'll see. Yeah, he plays the best move in the position, b5. Yeah, is I wanted to play c4, and that way I can get my bishop and kind of support my c pawn, or just trade it off. And he plays the very cool move b5, and it's great if you look at it. It's prophylactic. It's preventing me from playing c4. He's putting the clamps on my position. And this a3 pawn is a super weakness. Although in theory I'm up a pawn, I obviously felt worse here. And it's not a good feeling, only 16 moves in. I basically threw away the advantage. So here I did another think. I spent 5 minutes here because I figured I needed to find some counterplay to deal with the move d5, which I thought was incoming fast. So how can I do that? Well, if he plays d5 and is able to move on in, infiltrate my position, I have less space. I would no longer have a material advantage. He would have a direct threat. That's a big problem. What is a piece right now that's doing a lot for him or has a lot of scope? Well, it felt like this bishop. What's a piece that's not doing a lot for me that's supposed to be important? The queen. What's one way I can attack him? Well, I thought now I could play f3, and I do. And my idea with this was I can allow him to crash in if I can get to g3. And this is, by the way, what happens in the game. I thought I was threatening a few things at once. First off, I was sort of opening up a run path for my king. Number two, I thought I was threatening the very simple but strong bishop takes d6. Now, of course, if he pushes, if I can get my bishop to d6, I have the bastion on a3. Moreover, I'm still skewering the rook and the queen, and I thought that's an easy way to not just get back into the game, but prove an advantage. Furthermore, I thought that there are a lot of lines where if he pushes and I actually get the wooden shield on e5, I have mating ideas. I thought that was an indirect way of kind of keeping his queen away from my king if he has to constantly babysit, maybe that's the word, the g7 pawn. So I play it. I thought this was a good move. I was happy with this move. Let's see what the computer says, though. Yeah, the computer likes f3. It's one of the candidate moves, but black is a bit better now. Minus 1.5 is significant. And it looks like, and I it's funny, I considered c4 as well, but I thought once he played b5, I thought he shut the door on it. The computer said that I should play c4 anyway and just accept that I'm a bit worse. Again, -1 is not lost, especially at our level. The kid is in the 1900s. That's very good, but no, -1 does not mean that he will be winning the game, etc., etc., etc. But, nonetheless, I play f3, and we go from there. So, at this point, I thought that he could still play d5. I thought it was coming. I thought this threat was really strong, and I thought I was going to just go for it, just pray, just sort of rip and run for my life. And maybe, and like this is where I think Alex shows very strong technique. He gets his piece into the game. He plays knight b6, and it looks simple, but it's good. I mean, his idea is to just jump into the position somehow, some way. I thought he was actually going to go to d5 with the knight so that he has another way of attacking c3. Again, if he can kind of clean up these pawns, he just has all the play in the world. It's not so easy for me to stop this. And I told him after the game, not this move, but the next move I made, I thought was the one that kind of lost me the game. But I thought I needed to take away the threat that I thought was quite scary. But anyway, the point is, this move seems pretty good for me, to me, rather. It's his best move, yeah. Good for him. He shows really good technique. In fact, it's the only move where black continues to have like a decent advantage. For the record, I thought he was going to play d5 immediately. And it's worth pointing out, yeah, and actually the computer, they say I can just start running, which is what I was going to do. And the reason why is obviously he's threatening here. I was going to just run, and then if he goes like something like, queen takes, immediately I can defend my position. If I go d3 and he takes, it's fine. No problem. I go e2. Whatever. Not a big deal. I'm still in it. Technically, he'd be up the pawn here, but I thought that I had just compensation. And these pawns are pretty weak. That didn't happen, though. He plays the better move. This knight move is, again, very good technique. But I thought I was forced. I thought I was committed to this plan of counterplay. I thought queen g3 was the move, and it is the move. Apparently, and I wondered. I had no way of knowing if it was better to kind of hit the queen first. My idea, for the record, it was if he pushes e5, then I would play it, rather than like a takes line. If he pushes here, I actually was then going to attack the queen. But anyway, I play queen g3. Now, I thought my threat was pretty strong, pretty decent. I'm obviously attacking d6. I'm trying to skewer him. I'm trying to wiggle in if he now pushes to get this wooden shield going. I have some mate threats, maybe an h5, h6 idea, things like that. Also, a route to run with my king. For the record, like the psyche, and by the way, I'm down to 49 minutes here. He's down to 51 minutes. I thought I was worse here, but I didn't think I was like losing or anything like that. I thought that I had some counterplay, but if he finds the most accurate moves, he is winning. And guess what happens? Does he play queen c7? Drum roll, please. He does not. He said after the game as well that he thought that this was a bad move on his part. He plays rook c6, and it did look awkward to me because he's kind of blocking the bishop. Not that the bishop's doing much, it's blunted, but it's an awkward square. It's worth pointing out that if he does move the rooks some certain ways, I also was looking at various skewers this way, attacking this way. Again, that's why I thought that like this battery was actually doing stuff for me. It's worth noting that, you know, again, just to show you that if he defends it this way, I thought this loses. This was another like tricky line where I'm winning the exchange. And I thought I'm just like immediately better here. Like boom, I'm getting him. What's crazy is the computer says no. He actually can sacrifice the exchange because his attack is just so strong. You know, good to know. Instead, though, he defends the pawn with the rook, and it looks a little bit awkward. And this is where I told him where I thought I lost the game. Again, in my mind, -1 is not like a great position, but that's still very playable. This is where I thought that I played a very bad move. And I thought it was good, of course, but like the truth is I'm looking at my score sheet. I'm down to 49 minutes. I spent 6 minutes in this position, so it's not like this was not a quick move. I did consider a few options here, and I go for the pawn break. Now, the way I evaluated it was as follows. I looked at this stupid light square bishop. It's no longer defending the g-pawn. I needed to get it active, and I thought, how can I activate it? I thought that one way would be to go to d3, but I thought it'd be clever to play e4 first, and then try to basically use this long diagonal to my advantage. Basically get another piece in the attack. Because I thought with the two bishops kind of roaming him, that I would be ripping open the board. My principle that I referred to is when you got the bishop here, you want to rip open the center. I was trying to do that. I thought e4 succeeded at doing that. Again, I didn't think he could make use of the f-file, so I thought opening it was fine. And if he trades, and I'm able to activate my rook, then again, I'm getting pressure of my own. I thought that e4 maybe was called for now that he's blocked off his bishop. I thought that was kind of like the punish here. But this was wrong. This is just a bad move. Again, this is how I thought I could activate. And it's a bad move for a move I missed, which is very silly. For the record, with e4, I also thought I was taking away knight d5, which I was very worried about. It's worth noting that I'm technically giving up this pawn, but not really. If he takes on c3 with a rook, I take on d6, and I'm just like much better. Well, maybe not much better, but I'm better. But instead, I'm trying to think, what does the computer say I should have played here? Yeah, this was the move. Bishop d3, for the record, was like my default move. And they like king d2, just starting to run. Yeah, those are... I mean, there's no point in lying about this stuff. I was literally thinking about those moves. e4 is the fifth move. I thought it was clever. I thought it was like, his queen is undefended. It's a type 1 undefended piece. There's nothing blocking it. If I can push and like we get these trades or like ripping open, like I can open the center and look at this. My rook is gonna do something, and then I can get my h rook to the e file. Blah 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 blah. All right, whatever. I didn't do that. Instead, I play e4. And as soon as I play e4, Alex wastes very little time. In fact, just 2 minutes. And now he plays d5. This is the move I was very afraid of. And now it lands. And it's unstoppable. And sometimes people they make a bad move and then they fold. Sometimes they make a bad move and they fight heroically. I folded immediately. I played another really bad move. I think if I run with my king, the game goes on, but I was too fixated on the knight check, and then I thought I would just trade off the bishop, that I missed the sequence. I played king b2, which basically loses on the spot, because instead of playing the knight to c4, he just plays the knight to a4. And the problem is, if I want to run up to try to defend this pawn, now he can go rook takes, and it's defended by the knight. He infiltrates, and I'm completely lost, because then he goes queen takes pawn. In this position, this is actually resignable, because no matter where I move my king, I'm basically screwed. If I move it to a2, he's got this fork. If I move it to b1, he's got this fork. If I move it to a1, he comes in with check. So I made the only move that I thought that like the game continues, at least a few more moves. I play king c1, basically ready to throw in the towel. thinking that Alex was going to finish this off pretty quickly. He plays queen takes on a3 check. I am very screwed. There's not really a lot of coming back. I play king d2. And I thought the very simple move is he should just go queen takes on c3. Like, for the life of me, I have no idea why he didn't do this. Yeah, it's the best move according to the computer. It seems clear cut. He could even just take in the middle, by the way. I thought that was totally reasonable too at this point, because now actually I lost my other attacker. He would just win a pawn in the middle of the board. But he plays rook takes. And he said after the game, like, I saw the trick, but like, okay, he was trying to do a cheapo to just end the game, which, like, bravo, I guess. Like, he's winning. He doesn't have to do this, of course. But yeah, the reason why is, by the way, I played king e1. I thought that was the only move that kind of keeps me in the game. Is I technically have this move. Oh, look at that! I'm attacking the queen. The problem is he then has rook check. I can't go up, can't go up, can't go up. I guess I could move back, but the reason is if I take, this is mate in 2. And I did see all this. So, like, that wasn't going to happen. I'm just trying to think if I played the best move. I mean, it's pretty much over. Yeah, and I do. I do play the best move. All right, cool. I played king e1. And my thinking is, okay, it's pretty over, but maybe there's an element of, like, getting my queen in or so. Maybe at some position the skewer will work. Maybe I can, like, hide out in a forest and hold. I don't know. But it felt pretty over. And, like, I do think this was inaccurate, and I was very surprised because I thought the other line was forcing and winning. So kind of a little bit sloppy. In any event, after rook takes on c2, which is what he does, he just, like, shrugs. I realized that, like, I need to make a path for my king. I thought everything was kind of hopeless. I played a move that I didn't know, like, look, I didn't think anything was good. Oh, it is the best move. Okay, cool. I just didn't see anything better. I play bishop d3. Obviously, I'm attacking the rook. I'm defending this square. It is at the moment held firm by my rook, and I can maybe run. You know, like, whatever. Like, this is, I'm trying to keep the game going. You know, sometimes you make moves and the opponent is not super accurate at all levels, you know. And Alex, you know, high 1900s is obviously a good player, but he's going to make inaccuracies too. And I think this is one of them. He plays rook c6, and I was shocked at his placement here. Now, he's defending at this point against the fork, but he's blocking in his bishop again. He's giving my king life, and it's funny. I literally, in this position, perked up. Like, I know I'm lost, but I perked up because I thought actually that I had a chance here. Like, I thought the game was over, and then I didn't think it was over. And I noticed, of course, I have these cheapos, and if he pushes, I'm still defending this square. I was thinking here, but after, like, a move like rook here, or, you know, or whatnot, maybe it's loosening in some lines. I looked at running with my king, but I play what looks like the best move, or that and bishop e7, is I play takes. And the reason why I play takes is I thought that this breaks open the pawns. Maybe in some lines it gives me some life and some threat on the h7 square. I'm immediately hitting the rook, so I feel like he has to respond to this. He thought this was bad because it opens up another file to attack, but I had always seen that I had this bishop e5 with a wooden shield bearing down, that's fine for me. So yeah, I basically, I mean, you have to understand, I was ready to resign the game like 2 or 3 moves ago, and then after these next few moves, I actually thought that I had just counterplay, and I wouldn't say happy with my position, I was very upset, but I thought that I had genuine chances here. Again, according to the computer, I don't. It's pretty much over still. Again, I don't think -1 is a big deal. I do think -3 is a big deal. Hopefully you guys understand and follow me with that. So anyway, he plays e takes d5, and e takes d5, and after that, I think I have quite the decision. Looking at the computer, they want me to run with my king. I should have done that. Doesn't really matter. Okay, I played the best move as well. All right, I'm playing all the best moves here. I very quickly played bishop e5. This is where I thought I'm making threats. I'm keeping the game going. Maybe I can sort of get in here. You know, like, why the hell not? You know, maybe we keep playing. And I think Alex finds a very strong move. Rook G6. Shuts out the mate threat. Immediately attacks my queen. Wins a tempi as well, which he kind of needs. Because once he wins one tempi, the move that I was always worried about is the knight to b2. I calculate queen f4, queen h3, queen h2. Excuse me. Those are the hiccups. I think I play the best move. I play queen h3. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. They're all the same. Yeah, okay, queen h3. Yeah, I did play the best move, but it doesn't really matter. I'm just lost here. I'm lost, but with like some chances that he makes mistakes. Like I saw a few different tactics. You'll see where maybe he would be, he would throw it back to me. It's possible. And Alex, it's worth pointing out, was rushing at the end of the game. We both still have like 30 minutes, but it's kind of the, sometimes in these classical games, the pace quickens where like one player suspects the game is basically over or thinks it's about over, and then they start just like rushing to end it. That's a habit that I don't want to have anymore, but it's like very, very normal and natural. In any event, he plays the move that I didn't want him to play, knight b2. I thought this kind of ends the game, and I like hem and haw and hem, and I think that there's like one chance for me. It's not a great chance, but I'm just curious what the computer wants me to do. The computer wants me to play h5 here. That's the move he suggested. Everything is losing. I don't think it really matters. Basically h5 with the idea that maybe after like knight takes, rook takes, you can go pawn takes. You can kind of win the tempi. Wow, king e2 is another move that you can play to kind of defend that way, and just give up the exchange. Finally, I get my h rook into the game. I have not moved it the entire game. Not great, Robert. But I do a Hail Mary here. And the Hail Mary, it's not exactly, I only spent 2 minutes calculating this, so it's not really in-depth. I play bishop takes f5. Now, of course, this loses the game on the spot. It's pretty much over. But I was hoping, or hopeful, thinking that that this leaves the most room for making practical mistakes. Again, being able to swing my queen, because I needed to be able to get my queen to e6, like if I can get his rook off of this row, to try to find some sort of perpetual. Unfortunately, very quickly, Alex finds the continuation. He ends the game. At this point, I think with like flawless technique. I will say I kind of did see this, so this was not that hard to see. I was just playing I'm pretty screwed chess, and I need a kind of a miracle, and he didn't fall for it, which kind of happens. I kind of tried to pull the cheapo at the end. Only move here. He then takes, and he's threatening mate. I play a few moves on because, why not? Of course, the computer wants me to play bishop g3. I'm just down a lot of material. I could resign here. I'll say that I resign here. But the way the game finished, we actually played 2 more moves. I went bishop check, and he took with the rook, and then I went bishop check. I sacked the rest of my pieces, and I lost. I resigned the game. It was a good recap. Let's see, how long has this been? Oh, pretty long video. Yeah, that's my thought process. Yeah, I thought that I played okay. He's a really good player. I was better. I didn't find that move that he pointed out. It would have been an interesting game had I did. I probably could have fought a little bit better. I didn't. Yeah, 87 for him. Not perfect. Bad game by my standards, 76%. Just had a bunch of misses. Yeah, this one's not going to go on down the record books. I was kind of due for, a game regression. Online the last week, I played pretty poorly. I really do believe it's a function of it's so hot, I'm just not sleeping very much or very well. But, yeah, we'll get them next time. I'm still doing pretty well, again, although, losing to like a 1985 is, I mean, I'm what, 1750? He has 200 plus points on me. I barely lose points for this, so it doesn't even matter. After drawing my first game last week, I drew Anish, I think, who has 100 points on me or something. I think on the month in this Swiss, I'm maybe down a couple points, which again is meaningless. So having 0.5 out of 2 is not ideal. It's really not a big deal. All right, that's gonna do it. I'm gonna sign out. Obviously, bad game by my standards overall. I missed a few key ideas. I was playing pretty well until I wasn't, and I think Alex didn't put me away perfectly, but generally played quite well. I'm gonna call it here. Have a good one.